Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about something that just happened. This news just dropped.
Yes, here at Disneyland, we are now getting Lightning Lane Premier Pass. That's a mouthful.
I was going to say.
We're going to call it LLPP. That works too.
Yeah, so we've got a new layer of the Lightning Lanes.
Yeah, so basically if you're familiar with what once was Fast Pass Plus, Genie Plus, now it's all different. It's kind of been different though. They dropped the Genie name and now it's been Multi-Pass and Single Pass, which is a little bit more easy to say.
Yeah, there's been a bit of an identity crisis with the the Lightning Lane thing, but we're getting narrowed down, and now this new service, which is really interesting. You're going to want to hear about this.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
This is a different one.
Oh yeah, so we are going to go through and explain what it is. We're going to talk about how it works, when it's going to happen, how much it's going to cost. Then we're going to share with you our thoughts and some topics of discussion amongst a lot of people that are familiar, like some of the big Disney nerds that we are as well, and some of, our friends and other people that are talking about it. So let's first introduce to you what is LLPP. PPLL. And by the way, this did roll out at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, but we're specifically speaking about Disneyland and Disney California Adventure,
Yes.
the Disneyland Resort, because that's where we go. We don't really go to Walt Disney World too often. That's not really our forte, but there are so many other channels that will cover that.
Yeah.
I think Dylan will be talking about that because he actually does regularly go to Florida.
True.
So check out Theme Park Obsession for that. So anyway, here at Disneyland, what we have is multi-pass and single pass. So single pass here at Disneyland is Radiator Springs Racers and Rise of the Resistance. So Rise of the Resistance is over in Disneyland, Radiator Springs is over in DCA, and that is one of those rides that once you're in the park, no matter if you're a Magic Key holder or a ticket holder, you can opt to buy that. We call it like the a la carte option.
Yeah, it's just a singular item that you can buy. The price varies on that because I think it relates to how crowded it is. Mm-hmm. But you can buy those separately on their own, a la carte, which is why they're called that. And that is also called single.
Yeah, that is now called single. So we're telling you this because you kind of need to know the terminology. If not, you're going to be like, what are they talking about?
Well, because you're going to hear throughout the park, you'll hear people use one or all of those terms. So they all mean the same thing, but you'll hear it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, so especially though for the purpose of this video though, when we're explaining this, you're definitely going to want to know. So multi-pass is something that if you are buying a ticket or buying tickets, you can add that to your ticket option at time of purchase. And again, I think that varies. Again, just kind of like our tickets, it's a tiered system, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If you're a Magic Key holder or an annual pass holder, as pretty much what it is, we can't purchase that until we are scanned into the park that we're going to, and we get a tiny little discount on it. So again, we'll say it ranges maybe about like 40, 45 bucks, 30, 35, it's around there. Pretty manageable, and it's the Fast Pass system, pretty much almost the same thing.
And the almost part relates to the fact that you can only use the rides one time.
Yep.
Under that system.
You used to be able to get a Fast Pass for free, and we could use it multiple times. Or
get multiple Fast Passes. If they were available.
Right, that's how it worked. So basically same thing with the single pass. You can only use it one time, and again, if that ride is closed or down, that's it. Now with the multi-pass, if the ride is down or closed, you'll be granted like a multi-pass.
Multi-experience, meaning
multi-experience.
It's kind of a generic pass that will cover a certain amount of attractions, and it'll dictate kind of what those are.
Yeah, it'll depend on what. So let's just say, for instance, you had a multi-pass booked for Thunder Mountain. You need to see on that multi-pass what attractions it'd be good for, because it's not good for all of them. So we are going to list what the multi-pass attractions are for each park, so you'll know that. We've got all the information ready to go. So now, in addition to the multi-pass and the single pass, we have the Lightning Lane Premier Pass. It's basically the multi-pass and the single pass all combined into one, with a few additions and a few changes. Mostly price.
Well, yeah, and the fact that you are not you don't have to adhere to a time. It can be any time that you want to go on Big Thunder and use your, I don't know what you would call it, your pass.
Your pass.
You can use it one time, similar to how the system is set up.
Yep.
So that's kind of an incentive that you do not have to go see if it's available or what time it's available. You can just go. You probably still have to hit a button. I'm guessing, we don't know, but I'm sure just to be in the system, that's what it and it combines, like Katie said, it combines the other attractions.
So how it works is if you are coming to the park, and again, I think this is more geared towards ticket holders as opposed to Magic Key holders. So when you purchase a ticket, you would definitely want to have a park hopper for this, because way this works is it works for both parks. It works for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. It's all the attractions. It's the single pass, Radiator Springs, Rise of the Resistance, and all the other attractions, which again we will be listing in a second. That's how it works. So the other thing that's different is you have to purchase it 2 days in advance. It's going to be in limited quantities. And it's available the 2 days in advance right at 7 a.m. purchased through the Disneyland app. Now,
that's where it caters to families, because the 2 days in advance, it's like people who are coming from far away, who are planning everything. Locals could do it too, of course, but I think it really just kind of is trying to put a little more insurance on the situation to make sure that when you're coming, that you have the best possible chance of doing everything that you want to do. I think it's just an extra layer.
This is going to be available in very limited quantities starting off. So they said they're piloting this. So this may stay, this may go.
And who knows what that is? That term, limited quantity, is a relative term based on...
Yeah, we don't know what that is. We don't have those metrics. We don't know.
Is it going to maybe like a part that we normally know as whatever the chunk is for the lightning lanes? Are they going to dissect a part of that to accommodate this?
So what we're going to do now is tell you when it's going to start at Disneyland, how much it's going to cost. Then we're going to list all of the attractions that it involves. And of course, we will bring up some points of discussion and a little bit more about how it works. So first of all, at Disneyland, it's starting October 23rd. Whew, that is like right around the corner. Now, they have said that it is gonna cost, get ready everyone, at Disneyland, between $300 and $400. What?
That's heavy.
My gosh. Now, that is per person, per day.
Yeah, and that is not including park admission.
That's not including park admission, and that is not unlimited.
Right.
Remember.
Similar to like a VIP tour.
It is subject to availability too. Yeah. So, meaning, and I'm talking about the attractions, not about, the actual, pass. I'm talking about, just say
both sides are subject to availability.
They all are,
really.
yeah. Multi-pass
Whether
is
it's
also.
Available, yeah.
Yeah. However, you usually get that multi-experience. So I'm assuming they'll do that for this, but not all attractions are open all the time.
Yeah,
and
I would assume that the multi-experience thing would be implemented, because it seems like you're being put into the system. It's just that you have this like kind of premier gold access where you can bypass the timing and all that kind of stuff.
So again,
and it's not it's the same lane as Lightning Lane. It's not like you're getting an extra lane
that we know of. Yeah, we're understanding. Yeah,
and it's always kind of been that way as of late. How the Lightning Lane is Lightning Lane, DAS, Club 33, VIP, and now this thing. You know what I mean? They all will utilize the Lightning Lane.
You're talking about the actual physical queue at the attraction.
Yes. Yeah.
So they did tell us already in advance that for the rest of 2024, it's going to be, brace yourselves, everyone. It's going to be $400. It's going to be 400
simoleons
per person. $400. Now in 2025, it's going to start varying between $300 and $400. So
thank goodness.
Hang on, everyone. I mean, We're going to talk about some pluses, some minuses, and, you know, like what's good, what's bad, why we think it's happening. I mean, there's so much to speculate about.
Yeah.
And I think as Disney nerds, we tend to wonder.
Did you want to throw the list up there and show everybody?
Yeah, so I'm going to read them off to you real quick. I actually took some notes, so I'm going to write them down, or I wrote them down, and I'm going to read them off to you. We have the list of Disneyland attractions that are already included in the multi-pass and the single pass. These are all going to be part of this Lightning Lane Premier Pass. So we have Autopia, Big Thunder Mountain, Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. We have Haunted Mansion, which is temporarily on a virtual queue right now. So you don't even have to have multi-pass. It's just until it's done. That's why Pirates is also on this list, because that's temporary. So that's just for now. But going forward, Haunted Mansion is going to be the regular on there. As well as Indiana Jones. It's a Small World, which, remember, that opens November 15th. Matterhorn, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Millennium Falcon, Star Tours, again, temporary for Pirates of the Caribbean, Roger Rabbit, Space Mountain, and Rise of the Resistance, because that is single pass, and single pass does count for this.
Yep.
Let's move on to DCA. Goofy's, Grizzly River Run, Guardians, Incredicoaster, Little Mermaid, Monsters, Inc., Soarin', Toy Story, Web Slingers, and then Radiator Springs Racers, which is the single pass over there.
Yeah.
So you get a lot. You really get a lot. And that's why we said you don't want to just have a one day. If you are getting this Premier Pass, you don't want to have just a one park admission.
The other thing that you have to consider is a lot of people nowadays, I know a lot of locals, not locals, I shouldn't say that, but people who live in the Southland who don't go to Disneyland as much as like we do, they will try to utilize the VIP system, which is a lot of money. But if you get a group of people together, it can be a little more attainable, right? But that's utilized more than it used to be by just normal folks. I remember it being like just most of the time it was like celebrities because it was so expensive. And now it's just a thing that people do. And so I think this coming in is a lot cheaper than that.
Technically, yeah, because I think VIP is now, I think it's 10 people. You guys can correct us if we're wrong.
It is up to 10 people. That's
right?
true.
It's not 12.
I don't know what the price is anymore, though.
I think it's about double this. I would say it's probably
easily
more than double this, you know, and it's only 8 hours from my understanding.
Yeah, and then without tip on top of that.
Yes, because you got to tip your
I thought
VIP
it was in the
guy.
thousands. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe
I think it's in the thousands.
I just don't remember.
But yeah, it is in the thousands. But anyways.
It's got to be.
We know for a fact that this is cheaper. So it's another option that people, I think, once they hear about it, they'll be like, oh, how much is it? Like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Does it mean we're going to get easier access? Yeah. You know, you're not tied to a time. It's like, you know, if you want to do Big Thunder, go right now.
Yeah.
But again, you have to consider the Lightning Lane thing. Sometimes we've seen Lightning Lanes pour out, you know, pretty far into areas. So you have to consider that. Like you said about rides breaking down, you're kind of out of luck if that's the case. If something breaks down like for the whole day or something like that, you know, that's just how it's going to go.
And now we're in that park, what? I would say 2 to 3 times a week regularly. And there are times, and I'm not all the time, but there are times where we've been in that park and there have been nothing but ride breakdowns and ride breakdowns. And we were also in that park 2 to 3 days a week prior to 2020. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, we never had that many ride breakdowns as we used to.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as frequent. That's not to say that there haven't been weeks, you know, within this past 2020 where, you know, we've seen weeks where, oh, wow, almost every ride's open and it stayed open. You know what I mean?
Well, even if you get the weird thing that, you know, we've seen this happen, it's rare, but it happens. Like there'll be like a power outage somewhere in the park because,
that's been happening a lot more lately.
A section will go out, you know, and some things are more tied to each other than you realize at Disneyland. But so we've seen that. But I think for the most part, you know, it is a little bit of a gamble, but
it definitely is a bit of a gamble because you do have to consider, you know, that being a real possibility that that a ride could just not be operating that day. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that they are trying to help sell this. Again, it's why I'm thinking it's gearing more towards non-Magic Key holders / annual pass holders, if that's what you want to say, is because they're including PhotoPass in it. So you can get PhotoPass downloads, and you can get the little lenses. It's kind of like a Snapchat filter that I remember. I think we did it in Walt Disney World back around the 50th. So they're trying to like sell that memory thing, and I guess it's a good value, but for us or somebody that's a Magic Key holder, I don't think that's as much of a value. No. So they really are trying to reach out to those people that are coming maybe once a year, or the wealthy. Like, let's just say it like it is.
That too.
That is a big factor, and that's what people are kind of talking about a lot. They're like, listen, I feel like Disneyland and Disney World is not attainable for the average guest anymore. But at the same time, as much as these prices, like the price increases and all that stuff, people are still going. They're still buying. Like, I actually have a prediction that this is going to sell out all the time, and it's going to do extremely well. I just think so.
Yeah, I asked Katie about that before we did this, and I was like, do you think, being that it costs a lot, like, do you think it'll sell out? She's like, oh yeah, for sure. And I get it, because people are already spending thousands coming to Disneyland, so they're like, what's another $400?
Yep.
And not to say that that's
nothing.
Chump change. $400 is a lot of money.
It's a lot.
But I think that when you're talking Disneyland and the potential of a bad day, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the last thing you want, because then your entire investment is squashed. Right. If you put thousands into this trip, multi-thousands of dollars, what's another, if there's 4 people, it's like another $1,600 on top of, you've spent tens of thousands, right?
Maybe, travel, hotel,
so in relative
food.
terms, and I think you were right about this, about that it's catered more towards that type of situation, because they can justify it and say,
hey, I'm here once a year.
And I've already spent this much. What's another, like I said, $1,600.
Now, again, I just want to preface that we're not saying this isn't like a massive chunk of change. It's a lot. But again, if for some reason it doesn't work out well for their target audience, the only thing I could see it being an issue with is because it's not unlimited. I think that was something that's
the part I have an issue with.
Me too. And I think most Magic Key holders that I talked to, like, I had a lot of DMs about it. I talked to quite a few people. And a lot of people, even some people that are normally, like, they come once or twice a year, because I always ask people that before I talk to them, hey, so how often do you come? Blah, blah, blah. It seems like the majority of people are talking about the fact that it's not unlimited, and the fact that they'd be okay with it if it was unlimited, and if they got rid of the multi-pass and single pass. They're like, you know what? That might be more of a value to me, because that means the only people that are going to, like, it increases the value,
rid of it
because
altogether.
In that queue, in the actual physical queue that you were talking about earlier, all you would have are those people, which are going to be significantly reduced. So that increases the
they'll never do
the
that.
value. I don't think so.
No,
I don't think. I mean, although. Yeah, because you're right. Why would they do that? Because you have to think about it. If I'm Disney, I'm going, okay, so I have a family coming from Canada, right? They come once a year. They're going to stay for a week. Maybe one day out of their trip for a week, they're going to purchase that Premier Pass, right? But maybe the rest of the trip, they're going to get the multi-pass.
Just the regular.
Right? Yeah. And maybe one day they don't, So they can kind of squeeze every little bit of ounce of money out of you.
And to have multiple layers of revenue stream in that area is smart, because you'll get the people who are trying to look for value, and you'll get the people who just want an experience no matter the cost.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely, the company is trying to, I personally, and I don't know too much about Universal, but I do think that has something to do with it.
Well, they have to kind of,
because they have their Express Pass.
Keep up with the Joneses and all that,
Yeah, they have their Express Pass. And again, I don't know too much about it, so I can't really go too deep into that.
But there's some similarities that people have pointed out. But, I think if they just, like, what if they just made it that you got to go twice? That's it, just one.
Oh, just twice for each attraction.
Would you agree to that? Would say that that's, that's better, because, like, seriously, if
as far as value is concerned, you're saying?
Yeah.
I could see that being
because
a better
be honest,
value.
like if I really love an attraction, I'm probably only going to go on it twice at the most. Like maybe once in the daytime, and then I go, oh, I want to go on at night. It's different at night or something, or I just want to go on it twice because I like it, whatever. But going a third time, it happens, of course. But I don't think I need to. I would feel like, hey, at least I got more value than, the guy who paid less.
Do you think, though, that they're worried about doing that because it would swell up that line more often?
For sure they're worried about it, but I think...
But then I think you made a good point, though. What's the reality that you actually will? Just because you have the option, that's a better selling point to help drive somebody to purchase something.
Yeah.
Because that's how you sell something.
You see that all the time with things with value. They're like, you can wash your car, unlimited times a month for this much money.
How many times
are you really going to wash your car a month?
Like what about, a buffet or unlimited soup and breadsticks? Unless you're...
Like, are you really taking them, or are they getting that for so cheap at bulk that they're actually taking you on the,
Yeah, so I wonder. But then again, Disney people can really surprise you, and they can sometimes
Here's what it is, and this would be something you could see them doing. It's like, you can do all of the normal Lightning Lane things twice. You just can't do those two single ones twice.
The single pass. I could see
because those are more sought after, and I could see where that could be an issue with the queue. So I would say, okay, that's fair. Let those be the ones that they're singles.
Yeah.
Because they're singles already, right? One time. Yeah. I think that would be fair.
So, I mean, I guess like that, it would increase the value, I think, for a lot of people.
The only incentive that I see that exists for it right now is the fact that you don't have to make a time for anything. That you can just roll up, right?
It's definitely I think the only incentive is that, and the fact that it works for both parks and for the single pass option. But do we think $300 to $400 is a good value at Disneyland?
Well, here you also have to kind of think, how many rides are people doing on average when they go to the park?
Right. Like do
maybe 10, that's a lot. Some people go and have a mission, but I'm talking about the average.
I'm trying to count here. Let's see
folks,
how many there are. Like, what's the total?
So 23 total.
Yeah, we'll say 23, 24, whatever.
That's a tough thing to achieve in a day.
And that's assuming the Lightning Lane is going quick, because again, we've had Lightning Lane and we've waited sometimes like 15-ish minutes, which is still really good.
Right. It's all relative.
In Credicoaster, have you seen that Lightning Lane return time sometimes? Like, I've seen that where
it spills out onto the boardwalk all the way up to almost those billboards. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think that was Lightning Lane, or maybe that was regular queue. But I know it's gone pretty far, right? Like,
even Big Thunder, we've seen their Lightning Lane go all the way up
and around. And Haunted Mansion right now. Now, granted, that's just a virtual queue right now. But do you think it's feasible to do all of the Lightning Lanes in one day?
I took the 400, divided it by 23 rides, $17.39 roughly, $17.39 per attraction if you're to break it down like that, of what they're offering.
And then let's just say we're going to pick a number. We'll say it's $40 for a multi-pass, right? Regular multi-pass. Then how much would you say? Maybe we'll say $20 for each a la carte or single rider or single pass.
Yeah.
So we're going to say that's 40. I say 20 is a good barometer. Wouldn't you say? It's about 20. We've seen it 20 or 18.
Yeah, but just say 20.
Okay, so we'll say you're talking $80.
Yeah.
Right? Like, again, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's a good ballpark.
Yeah.
So that's $80 with both a la carte options. Now, you just have to go by a time, which actually I think that's the big drawback, is really that time. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, because there have been multiple times where we've had the multi-pass, if you will, or the Genie Plus, and we couldn't go on an attraction because there was no available times. Do you know what I mean? Like, remember, like we were like, oh, let's book Thunder Mountain, and the only time was at 9 o'clock at night, or it was done for the day. Like, there was no more, or something like that.
You get the privilege of the multi-experience, but not the timing.
Yeah. So you're paying, let's just say, an extra $200 to $300 plus for literally the chance, like you
to
actually
bypass the timing system.
You stand a better chance at getting on all those attractions if you wanted to. Can it be done is another question. So am I going to throw down $300 or $400 for each of us to find that out? I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I never say never. But maybe if one of us did it, you know, just to find out, can you get that value?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd make a good video. You guys think we should try it one day? Should we spend the money? I don't know, because then I look at that as far as my value. Like, yeah, it'd be cool to like test it so that, you know, you all would know. But I'm like, man, I'd rather go to Vegas. That's what I'm thinking.
I'd rather throw that on, you know, black.
Right? Like throw it on red or black, or, you know, and possibly actually win money. Because, like, what are you getting? I don't know.
You'll get some kind of feeling either at the pit of your stomach, or you'll be elated that you won, you know.
Yeah. Now, I have a question, though. Do you think, do you agree, it's the judgment is out on this. Do you think it would be better if they just got rid of the multi-pass system altogether and just did this?
It's hard for me to think about that, because I know that they would never do that.
I don't know, because Universal has it that way.
Do they?
They only have their express thing.
Right, but they didn't have it the other way and then take it away.
But that's not to say that Disney can't get rid of it and do it this way.
Yeah, but they have to be careful with that kind of thing, because
I possibly think that this is a test to maybe consider that. I really do, because there's a very good likelihood that they can make more money. If this does extraordinarily well and just sells out constantly.
Well, maybe there's a middle ground that they have a model that is $200 that blends the whole thing together. And maybe you're right. This is a test right now.
Yeah, like they're dipping their toe in the water.
Right, because the test has to be limited. They have to charge premium for it because they don't want to stampede. And then they're trying to see how
this is limited quantity,
how it works, and then how it. Yeah, so maybe, you know, maybe there's a version that's like a different model that's a little bit lower, and then it's overall, because maybe they creep the price that it is now up slowly but surely, and all of a sudden, hey, we're getting into almost the 200 range here. We're getting closer to that 400 thing. The separation is shrinking, you know.
If you were to be asked in 2018, hey, you're going to have to, do you believe me that you're going to have to pay for fast passes someday? Would you have believed that? Because I wouldn't have.
I probably would have.
Yeah, you might have, actually.
But I don't know that I would have. I probably would have thought, well, it'll still be the same thing. You just have to pay for it, and that we would get unlimited fast passes. And, and I would have been fine with that. Like, okay, you know, I you know, nothing's free.
Would you have also thought that it would be like $40, $30, whatever? Or do you think you would have thought it would have been more or less?
I thought that it would have been like $29.99 or something, you know, like
what I would have envisioned,
like an add-on or $40 add-on.
So this is a good point. Now, what I would have envisioned for something like this, if they wanted to, what do you call it? Like get more money out of the magic key holders. I would have thought that they could have added, and they still might. Again, just looking at what they could do, what could have. We're in the realm of painting possibilities.
I know what you're going to say, because they've done it before.
Yeah. Add on to the magic key holder program. We used to have that where I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it was parking or something?
We did. We had a bunch of add-on things that
it was like parking, photo pass.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, because the certain tiers that didn't have stuff, you could add it on or something.
Yeah, I think there was something to that effect. You guys can correct us in the comments. I think my brain, I try to put it out because it's kind of depressing little bit.
But I do remember, you could just tack it onto your
magic key annual pass.
Annual pass, and then you had it, which was genius because it was built in. You know, it was kind of more streamlined. You know, and
so that's what I was going to say, though, is now if you were to talk to me in 2018, 2019 and ask me, do you think that if there was an option to get you never have to like worry about a time, like a return time for a fast pass, because that's what it was called back then, would you pay to add that on to your annual pass? I would have been like, oh yeah, like I can see that being a thing, like, you know, whatever, because you don't have to pick a time, because even back then we had to pick a time. Yeah, it was unlimited. but we had to, you were confined to a time. So that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of talk of people that I've spoke to that were like, you know what, if you could just have this option with a magic key and like pay extra for it, I think I would do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I don't know how well that would do because magic key holders don't always, we tend to be less focused on getting on ride. Like it's
true, because we've
not,
been on them a lot.
Yeah, it's not really something. I know for me, I could go 7 to 9 months without going on an attraction ever.
Yeah.
And I am completely fine. Now, granted, I've been going my entire life.
Yeah.
So maybe that has a factor in it.
Yeah, your experience at Disneyland is
way different.
Well, different, you know. But I think that's the beauty of it. Yeah. That's the beauty of Disneyland is that it has a lot of different ways of consumption and, you know. But I think with the pass, it's weird. We were talking about this too. It's weird that it used to be free. And it made sense that it was free back then because in my mind, the logical thing was like, hey, their product and their park is so popular, it's getting really crowded and it's difficult. So what they've done is they've designed a way to manage the crowd, and you have to do a little legwork. But there's this thing, this fast pass thing, and they've implemented it. And so, to me, it was like, even though it was a problem for the guest, it really is a problem for the company because a problem for the guest is a problem for the company. So they created the Fast Pass, which was like a way to ease the pain. And so we were like, oh, thank you. That's awesome. What a great idea for progressiveness in theme park, whatever. And then now it's weird that we have to pay for that. It's not our fault that,
It's not our fault we like Disneyland and rides.
Does that make any sense? I don't know. I could be totally out of line because I just go like, the whole original reason was like to just ease the, like I said, ease the pain. And it was something that was like, hey, it's our job to do that as the park. You know what I mean? And now it's our job to do that in a sense of like, we're funding something that wasn't even funded back then. So I don't know. I just find it funny. And the other thing I think about with that is that the old FastPass system for sure cost more money to maintain because you had a physical machine that needed maintenance. You had paper that cost money. You had a cast member usually at the station, helping people and managing the situation. So for sure, that old system cost a lot more to maintain.
The first rendition of it, whereas
before it went to mobile.
Yeah.
And I think when it went to mobile,
Max Pass.
Max Pass.
That's what it was called. I keep saying.
So I think forgot. Before it went mobile, it cost a lot, and they were paying for it. We weren't. And so now it's ironic that it probably doesn't cost half of what it did. Don't quote me on that, but this is me guessing because there's nothing physical anymore that we pay for this thing that doesn't even really cost
Maybe
them
it's costing more on the back end with IT and all that, though.
Maybe one time. But maybe you could be right. See, that's where I'm ignorant. But anyways, I just find that interesting, that.
So another thing that everyone's bringing up, and again, we're not going to dwell too much on this because I don't understand a lot of it, and it's so controversial on top of that. But the DAS system, the Disney Disability Access System, if you're not familiar with what it was, what it is, because it still exists, but what it was prior to a few months ago, it was basically if you couldn't stand in line for a medical reason, they would grant you, I want to say it was like maybe one time or it was like 6 months at a time. I know there was one point where my niece used it because of her medical issues. Now they've since pretty much have overhauled the whole system. It's so different, and there's a lot less people that are qualifying for it. They are basically conducting like these pre-screening interviews. Again, I don't know too much about it. We are not the channel to go to for that, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I wish we were, but I don't want to give you wrong information. I just know that the one thing I can say for certain is let's just say there was at any given time maybe like 2,000 people a day that on average were using the DAS system. Now it's closer to like 100. Do you know what I'm saying? So
the ratio.
However they're like determining the use of it, I don't know. I have no idea. I just know it's way less utilized.
Okay.
But with DAS, as Spencer talked about before, they are using that same actual physical queue.
The lightning lane is it's the only lane that is separate from a standby. Right. And like I said, for VIPs, for 33, for,
Lightning lane
itself, and the new thing, the premier thing. So they're all utilizing that line. There's no separate line. I would say the only time that you're going to get something unique is like if like Johnny Depp is there and they're not going to put him in any lines.
In that.
But that's a very unique situation that none of us really can relate to. So there's a handful of people that get that, right? So that doesn't really need to be discussed. But I think the fact that lane, has a lot of usage. And
so that's the point, though.
Yeah,
people are saying it's very funny that this came along.
Yeah.
After DAS is now like, maybe 10%. So
I see that this was planned.
Because
so they wanted they needed to cut numbers somewhere in that lightning lane bowl because there's the category that we were just talking about.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's true. We're just thinking that.
I'm just reporting that is being speculated and talked about. I do not know that information. And again, I can't really speculate on something that I really don't understand everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Like I can speculate on a lot of things that I maybe have a good guess on or some experience with, but that's just one of those things I don't know. So I don't want to like feed you wrong information. But
this thing came out of nowhere too.
It did. I know. Like it's kind of like that is something that another thing that you kind of want to think about. Prices just increased, like, what was this, last week? A couple days ago?
Yeah.
Like, out of nowhere. Now, we expect price increases in January,
Usually,
February. Like,
beginning of the year.
That's the normal.
Yeah.
And the way I looked at it, if you watched our video where we were chatting in our backyard, the way I looked at the price increase was this was to cover the almost strike from the cast members that needed wage increases. Like that was my theory, and I think we talked about that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's right.
Right?
You're
Like
right.
we talked about that, and I kind of went, okay, that's what it is. And people said, no, it's just because they're greedy. And I'm like, well, I think the greedy-ish, if you want to say that, that's part of the inflation. Call it what it is. That's what we're still going to see. I think we're still going to see the January, February price increase.
That's what I was wondering about that. They're not going to change.
I think this was just an additional thing.
Right.
Right? So, but it is weird timing all these things where it's like, hey, we're increasing pass prices, but we're gonna bring back Paint the Night. But now you're gonna have a premiere pass and it's gonna cost $400, $300, $400. So it's like there's just a lot of weird stuff happening at Disney right now.
It's an abusive relationship.
It is. It's so horrible. It's a very weird thing that we're all like...
We have an announcement. What?
Yeah,
we're bringing back Paint the Night. Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, good.
I was ready for,
Yeah, and again, we're not talking all about Walt Disney World, but it's going to range there from like, I think 139 to like 449, I think it was. Let me look at the price. I wrote it down.
I mean, the whole thing is so different over there because they got 4 parks.
Right. So theirs is going to range from 129 to 449 plus tax per person.
Wow.
And
question, and we might not know the answer to this. Does it include any of the water parks for this?
That I don't know. I don't think so. No, I think those are separate. If I had to take a guess. Now, the other thing that's going to be different over there is there's something to do with like, I want to say like the resorts or DVC. I think, again, I'm not 100% sure, but it had something to do with that. So I don't know, but you just, as far as Disneyland's concerned, when Disneyland and Walt Disney World are being talked about, they're different animals. They are built of different guests. It is like...
Well, yeah, and just I think the whole model's different in a sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's just different. Like, we have a ton of Magic Key holders. We also, though, are I don't know, I would say like Disney World is more...
It's a vacation destination, and it was designed that way.
Yeah, and
Disneyland is a theme park that eventually got hotels and things, and stuff came up around.
We're not set up for as much as we would like to be, and I know they're trying to... It seems like based on this, they're trying to change that.
Yeah.
They are really trying, in my opinion, to have less magic key holders and more ticket holders, which... That's their prerogative. That's Disney. If that's where they're going to make more money, I understand.
Because they can create programs like this.
Right.
To where, like you're saying, like it wouldn't benefit a magic key holder to do this. Now, there are things that they could design for magic key holders that they could upcharge.
If they wanted it. But the thing is
it's pretty easy.
They're having to put magic key holder sales on pause multiple times. Now, again, do I think that's also just to help drive up demand? Yeah.
It's probably a multitude of reasons.
But I do think if you were to look at an annual pass, before the shutdown, we had AP days, we had buttons, we had sweatshirts, we had special we had special annual pass lounges, we had annual pass merchandise. We have a great Walt Disney shirt. So have you seen a lot of that? Like we get a button or a magnet and maybe a little photo op lens, and that's it. Again, I'm not complaining, and I'm not trying to come off as complainy Katie, but what I'm trying to say is, like, if you just zoom out, doesn't it seem like Disneyland is more trying to get ticket holders? Because
based on that, they know that
they're going to probably make more money
on the daily. They do spend more.
Didn't they call us unfavorable guests whatever they called us, unfavorable or something like that?
They did, but I always argued that while one family who shows up for the week that they come to a Disney park and they spend upwards of whatever tens of thousands of dollars one time in let's say they do it once a year. Let's just say that's a lot. I would say a really dedicated pass holder or magic key holder spends a lot of money if they're going there a lot, because the food's expensive, the merchandise is expensive, the whole experience is expensive.
I feel like magic key holders,
I don't know what the number is, but like if you were to do it over the course of a year compared to a week with a family of 3 or something like that, I think it would be semi-competitive, and I think they know that, and I think they also know the value of a pass holder / magic key is that you're a seat filler for when the parks go dry, and they go dry. That's part of the game. They know that. And
because prior to annual pass holders, there was a time, and I do remember this because we were early pass holders, my family.
You had like laminated cards.
Yeah, we had laminated
library
cards.
Card. I've seen them.
Heck yeah.
It's funny.
But I remember there was a slow season and there was a busy season. Yeah. There was...
Well, that was why the program was designed. It literally was to fill the downtime. And, and it builds a great connection with the local community that, really loves the park and
Yeah, it's definitely a value.
Yeah.
So I guess, again, because we're magic key holders... For us personally, I have to try and look at this as maybe I only come 3 times a year, once a year, whatever. Do I think that this is a good value? For me, I think it really just depends on how much your ticket cost the day that you're going, because remember, we're a tiered system.
Yep.
I think the time of year also has something to do with that. If you're coming into a season where generally we have more refurbs, and then you're buying that, and even if it's $300 and your ticket wasn't even a high tier ticket,
right?
I don't know if that would be as worth it. Now, if you're coming during Christmas, everything's open. I guess I can see that actually being a little bit of a value. Like, the more I look at it, I'm like, well, you're kind of doing you're doing your best at getting to do most of the things you want to do, because you're not held back by that window of time.
Right.
Because as much as it's way cheaper for the multi-pass, again, when you're subject to having to come back at a certain time, The other times, like let's just say you really like your next attraction is because it's like 2 hours has to elapse. It's really complicated.
Yeah.
Like I've tried to explain it to people and they're like, what?
Yeah, when you scan into whatever attraction you're going to.
Yeah, it's whatever comes first.
At that point, then you can make another one.
Yeah, or if I think it's 2 hours. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I believe it's 2 hours. If it's 2 hours have elapsed or you've scanned in that meantime, if you're not going to eat food, you can do standby for another thing. That's going to, a standby that could be 2 standbys that are an hour.
Yeah.
You know, which does happen when it gets busy. So it's just really hard to say, do I think this is just a major ripoff? Do I think it is so greedy? Do I think it's a wonderful thing? I can't really say for certain. It's shocking because that happens with Disney. It's still a lot of money at the end of the day. It is a lot of money. But I guess...
And we also haven't seen it in action yet.
Yep.
So...
It's hard to say.
A lot of times with stuff like this, and we've noticed when they roll out stuff, they give you the information and we have a bunch of questions usually. Mm-hmm. And once we do it, all of a sudden we go, oh, that's how, I was wondering how they were going to do that and this and that. And they don't tell you everything right away. That's...
Yeah, they do their best.
Thank goodness, because then we go and experience these things and then share it with you guys. And, you know, but I'm sure we'll find out more when this thing actually goes live.
When it has time to...
Well, yeah, and people start experiencing it and you start hearing and if we do it or whatever, you'll see what actually it is. And okay, so there is value because when we did this,
Yeah, this is how we experienced it. The other thing that I thought that was really interesting is when I was looking at what is a la carte and I was looking at, single pass, what was on multi-pass, Tiana's Bayou Adventure was not anywhere to be found. That's going to be open. They were even telling us, temporarily Haunted Mansion and Pirates, that whole thing.
That is interesting because...
So that tells me maybe they just left it off. I don't know. But why was that not on that list? Because Splash Mountain, was it on... Splash Mountain was on Max Pass. It was on all that stuff.
For sure.
But it was something that I did think about. I was like,
Maybe, is it possible that when it opens, it's going to be on virtual for a while?
I think so.
So that's why they don't want to even...
Do you think they're even... Another thing is, will it just be one of those ones like Haunted Mansion is right now, where Haunted Mansion is, as long as you're in the park at 12, you can do it, or if you're... You know what I'm saying? The 7 a.m. thing, is it going to be something like that?
For a while until it mellows out.
That's my theory.
Yeah, and it is winter, so,
You're right, and that's another thing. That might be... The other question I had is... when we're talking about shows like Fantasmic.
Oh, yeah.
That used to be it made me think about it.
It was
used
on
to
the
be on a
Fast
Fast Pass system.
That's right.
You used to be able to go and get a Fast Pass.
So did World of Color.
World of Color as well. Now it's on a virtual queue for World of Color. But my question is...
It was like a box. It was a mobile Fast Pass unit. I remember it was like a box. Mm-hmm. It was cool.
Yeah, Fantasmic. That's how it was.
Yeah.
My question is, though, do we foresee that something like this will be a paid thing to have, well,
it already kind of is in the form of dining packages. I think that's where they took that because they thought, you know what, where's the value? The food is the thing that kind of gives it the value to them because they can get that food for so cheap, right? So they're thinking, all right, well, we'll offer them a meal and an area to sit. And there's your value.
Still, even with that, though, it does make me wonder if, how the dining packages are doing. Because I don't see a lot of people doing those when I go. But again, I'm only there, 2 nights a week. It's very different from my perspective. But I would love to know how those are doing and if those are something...
Are people who come from far away doing that because they want to make sure they get a good spot for the show, or are they not? And they I wonder what the info is out there, And
I also wonder, what is that upcharge for premium seating? Just for seating, you're not getting anything else, but you're getting a darn good seat, with an actual chair, like they used to do at Blue Bayou.
Yeah.
Would that be something you can see them just monetizing without doing the whole dining package, without doing maybe they'll do the Hungry Bear barbecue. That'll be the dining option in Zocalo because those are technically a little bit cheaper and they're a little more to the side. Do you see something like that happening where maybe they don't have Blue Bayou and Cafe Orleans? I think it's Cafe. No, it's
Riverbell Terrace.
And seeing that, instead they take that away, and maybe that is a paid option. I'm just saying, like, now that this happened, I'm really starting to question all the things that they can monetize in different ways. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think about it.
Well, yeah, because...
What about World of Color? Besides the dining package, maybe instead of that virtual queue, because that was something that is free right now, they could easily just go, let's monetize this.
Oh, yeah,
Let's monetize it.
They're making it even doing that math, that it's like over $17 per attraction to bypass everything. So
I guess maybe Fantasmic, maybe that doesn't change, but World of Color, because right now you can join that virtual queue thing. What if instead of a free virtual queue, it was money? It's going to cost you something now. Maybe it's $20, maybe it's $30, maybe it's going to cost what MultiPass will cost. They could easily do that, and I would not be shocked if they did. That's just how it goes.
What the hypocrisy that would really be unbelievable is if they started charging for the train.
They're not going to do that.
They're like, well, no, like you could sit in this car, not like Lilybell, but just like this, something that like we normally would just always sit in for free.
I mean, it does make you wonder, are we going
like the caboose? They could do the caboose.
I'm not trying to doomsday anything, but like it does make you think, is there a chance
where does it end?
Right? Like, what is it? What if they start charging for upcharging for certain seats on rides, or for first priority pick of where you get to sit on a ride? I mean, anything is possible now. After what we've experienced here today.
What if they upsell the porch for parades or something? sorry, potatoes.
Yeah, sorry.
But
it's so crazy, everything happening. So it doesn't escape me that like anything can happen. Let us know in the comments below how you feel about it, though, because I'm just curious. Like, again, we're not necessarily their target audience. So if you are one of those people that are their target audience, we really want to hear from you. Is this something that you would pay for? Would you pay $400 to have the MultiPass and not have to deal with, picking a time? And do you think it's a value, the fact that it's not unlimited? Like, what do you think? I mean, I'm curious. Does PhotoPass sell you more? You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious.
I keep thinking about the math, and I'm like, what if you only did like 10 rides?
Let's just say it was $300 and you did 10 rides.
That's like $30 a ride.
The reality is, if the rides are down, if, you know what I mean? Like, there is a very real possibility that you might not get that many attractions done. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, who knows?
I wonder too, like, if you think about it, so say it is like you do all the rides, it's like $17. If you were there at the park, right, and it's crowded, and you get into, you want to go in Indiana Jones, but you don't have Lightning Lane or something like that. Like, would you pay $17 right there on site? Like, if somebody said, "Hey, man, give me $17 and I'll get you straight on this ride." Oh, like
what they're doing with Radiator Springs or Rise of the Resistance?
Yeah, but I'm not saying in reality. I'm just saying, would it be worth it to you to do that?
Or even $20. Let's just make it $20.
$20, yeah, for every ride to be able to just like go on it when you want and go in that Lightning Lane
For me, yes. If I really wanted to go and I was with my family and I was there. Now,
because I think when you say 400, people go like, whoa, and they're not thinking of how many rides are at the park, and they're not thinking of the breakdown.
Right. But there's my point, though. 400, though, is a possibility. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas I could just pay you $20 and that's just that one attraction.
Yeah.
So here's another question. Do you think it would be better if they just made they took out the $400, they took out the $40, they took out all that, but every ride had the option of being a la carte?
Oh, like the old days with the e-tickets and all that. It goes right back to that. Well, what I would do, I would say this. I would go, let's charge $100. You could do this $100 pass that allows you to buy them individually. So you pay $100, and then you're able to, if I want to go in Indy, I'll pay the $20. right?
See, what I was saying though is
because if you just open it up to it, it's going to be chaos, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, so what if it was...
Make it another tier to where you have to buy in. You got to buy into this thing that allows you to now buy those other ones.
Make sense. I'm just saying, I feel
it makes sense. It's just I'm saying like you have to be realistic because they're not going to just make it cater to you.
No, but here's what I'm saying. What if every attraction was $40? No, I'm going to say 30. What if every attraction was $30? There was no other, you know, Max Pass and
because then I think they're going to be like, well, then what are we paying to get in this park for?
Well, you're paying to get in the park. You have the option of doing standby, but you can pay $30. Let's just say that your only rides you want to get on are Big Thunder Mountain, Jungle Cruise, and Dumbo. So you can pay $30 for each one.
So another $90 on top to make sure you just get on those.
Or $20. I don't know. Yeah, I just put out $30. But that's what my question is. That's what I was talking about. Like, instead of having to buy in and da-da-da-da-da, because then I wouldn't, you know what I mean? But if it was, you could just pay for an attraction to get into the lightning lane. It's an interesting thought. Let us know what you think about that. Would you pay for that?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm very curious.
I would do it on a thing like, you know, if it's available. You know how at Universal for the Horror Nights thing, at a certain time, what is it, after 10 o'clock, you can buy... the front of line pass for a discounted price because there's not that much time left. But they do it based on like
availability,
how crowded it is and all that.
Yeah.
Options like that where it's like, hey, we still have some of these premier passes left. Mm-hmm. We're going to discount them for $100, you know, because you only literally have 2 hours left. So really, it's value. It has to be that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty cool at Disney. I mean. Again, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I believe anything could happen now. I believe that we're also in a time where they're trying to test the waters and see how far they can push it,
yeah.
What's going to be the best value for them and for I don't think that they just want us to be miserable and suck us dry completely. I don't believe that.
You can't really do that to people.
Yeah, and think that your product will survive.
You have to kind of like do the dance of like, hey, we're charging a little more, but we're also giving you a little more.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing.
I think that there's a lot of people, especially with this announcement, that are just like, Disney's evil, like da-da-da. And like, it's easy to say that when you hear big numbers like this, but I don't believe that. I believe that, again, they're just, look at the economy now. Like, things are more expensive than they've ever been.
That's what's interesting about this rollout is like to do it right now where it's like we're approaching the holiday season. People are, you know, they're struggling. Let's be fair. Mm-hmm. And then we got this thing. We got this thing happening, and it's like, how can you know?
it's a crazy time.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing is though, is like we say all of this, and I told this to Spencer before we started recording. I said, the reality is they've raised these prices and raised these prices. They've just continued to raise the prices. People are still coming. It has not stopped. Like, again, they have to pause sales of Magic Keys.
Because we'll see that comment.
It's too expensive. I'm not going anymore.
We'll see the comment that until people stop going, this will continue. And that is correct.
It is.
It's 100% correct.
And I admit we're part of the problem as far as Magic Keys are because I'm probably not going to get priced out. I can't foresee everything. But there's a very high likelihood that is like I'll sacrifice so that I can keep my Magic Key because it makes us happy. Like I will give up.
We're also fortunate that we can make payments.
Yes, yeah, that's another thing. A lot of people can't make payments.
Out-of-state folks can't do that.
But we also pay a lot to live in,
it's all relative.
Southern California. So they put out these like big price hikes. They do these things and people still continue to pour into Disneyland. It is still very busy. Magic Keys are still selling every day that they can like hotcakes. So they can raise these prices, but at the end of the day, Disneyland is more popular than ever.
It's still being consumed. It's like,
I would assume it's probably doing better than most theme parks. I don't know everything, but I would say it is one of the top theme parks ever. And so they're going to keep raising these prices. So we can't, as much as we want to say like, oh man, that's so much and that's crazy. It's like, but you're all still going. I'm included in that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this works.
Yeah, we can talk about it all day long and speculate, but until it's implemented and people have tested it and we get some experiences and some reviews.
And people saying like, hey, this was really valuable, or this wasn't, or it was,
Yeah, until then we won't pass too much judgment, but there it is. Let us know what you think. As we said, we're curious to see what you guys think as far as values. It's different for everybody.
It sure is. It's subjective,
Yeah, and as far as how you consume Disneyland, it's also subjective. So love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thank you to our Patreons, and we will see you next time on Best Life and Beyond. Bye-bye, everybody.